what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Behind the MasterMinds, episode 71, our season 4 premiere.
Woo! Oh, forgot I had an applause button.
There you go. All right. If you haven't noticed, we do have some special guests on the screen with us, and we're about to dive in right now. First, we want to know, how is everybody doing? And please type in where you are joining us from. Today, we have a very exciting show for you guys, as we've invited some of the industry experts on corporate gaming. So let us introduce our guests first. First up, we have the founder and owner of Virtual Escape Games, Jorge Laborico. George, please raise your hand. There he goes. All right. George founded the company in March 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, and has hosted thousands of games, including corporate ones since then. We'll definitely be talking about that experience in a few.
Yeah. Are you waiting for my another part?
Yeah,
Here
we gotta ramp it up. Next up, we have Jack McCarthy. Where are you, Jack? Where? Oh, there you go. All right. So he's the owner and founder of Fantasy Escape Games. Jack is an award-winning international designer based in Los Angeles. He has designed escape rooms in 16 countries that have been translated into 6 languages. Beyond escape rooms, he's also designed themed exhibits, events, and gamified immersive theaters. Jack runs Fantasy Escape Games, an exclusively online escape room business that specializes in bringing people together virtually. Fantasy Escape Games experiences incorporate RPG elements to create unique social interactions for remote teams. I'm hearing a little background
sound. I'm not sure that's.
He's also running games for companies including Amazon, Google, Meta, as well as state government departments and more. Fantasy Escape Games host group sizes from 2 to infinity and beyond.
Infinity and beyond.
Literally. All right, and last but not least, we have Charlie Odenz. Charlie, where are you? There you go.
Hi, guys.
So Charlie's the owner, operator of Lockbox Escape Rooms. Currently, their physical escape room location is in Davie, Florida. During the pandemic, they closed their second location, but were able to open up a new horizon with their online business. They have helped consult other escape room companies and have created an online department with 8 online games catered to both enthusiasts and corporate customers.
Yay!
All right, guys, we're diving into our questions right away. But audience, if you have any questions along the way, or you played any of the games provided by our guests, feel free to type it into the chat and ask away. Later on, we'll be giving you an opportunity to join us on the live stream stage. If you're not camera shy, of course. We'll send you a link to be a guest. But without further ado,
all right, I am a good question person. So our first question is to George. Tell us, how did you start your business? What were you doing before? And don't forget to add that inspiring Tesla story.
Yes. So I started my business in 2020 in March. So I think it was like the first week that the pandemic happened. I created an escape room for my friends to play online while they were working at home. And I wasn't doing anything prior, so I was unemployed before the pandemic. Before other people were becoming unemployed, I was unemployed. And so I was using my time to kind of try to build fun things for people to do. And so, yeah, that's what I was doing. I, was just putting these on for friends at first, and then opening them up to, other friends and families that I wasn't familiar with all around the globe before transitioning into corporate events. And then, I was doing it on a donation basis to start, which is, raised enough money that I managed to buy that Tesla in full. As soon as I was like, you know what, I've got the funds, let's do it. And I love it. So that's the story of how I got my car.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
Right? From unemployment to making 6 figures.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Love that. All right. So Charlie, tell us a little bit about your corporate gaming experience so far. How did you start this business? Were there any challenges that you had to face initially?
So I started in the escape room business back during the escape room boom in 2016, and everything, we did really well in our in-store business. So we expanded different stores, and then just like everybody in 2020, we had to shut down, and we're on our feet thinking, hey, how are we going to do this? How are we going to survive and get through? At that time, a lot like the virtual gaming was just becoming new, and at that time, live stream seemed to be like the main thing that a lot of escape room owners were doing. But we found that was a little limiting when it came to being able to handle larger groups. And we were getting a lot of inquiries. Hey, we have 30, 50, 100 person groups that want to do escape rooms and team building events. And the live stream just we didn't have the resources to pull that off. So we came up with our virtual game platform that was able, and at that time we were one of only a couple people that were able to offer it. And so it really just took off. Because everybody in the world was looking for a virtual way to do some sort of an event, and that just kind of took off, and since then everything's been very good.
Yeah, I think we played most of your games from all three of you, and there's so much fun, almost all of them.
Yeah.
If you guys out there have played any of the games, just type in which ones were your favorites, because I know it would be hard for me to decide. Because some of them had their moments, so I wouldn't be able to do that. But if you have played it, type it in.
Yeah. So Jack, I know you had started with the smaller scale of catering to enthusiasts first, and then smaller groups with your audio escape room format. What made you want to expand into the corporate worlds and create Space Defenders? Do tell us a little bit about that experience so far.
Yeah, definitely. So like you mentioned, we first were catering to private groups of friends and families with the idea of even enthusiasts in mind. And people were having fun with our games that they were telling their coworkers. And much like the other stories we've heard so far today, when the world kind of shut down and everybody looked for things to do online, we started getting requests for that. Something else that inspired me is I have been in office environments that were very hard to have fun in, or maybe people were looking for something to do, looking to collaborate with their coworkers and get to know each other and get to celebrate together. And especially at a larger organization, I noticed it was really hard for groups to feel like not only they were connecting with their group, but simultaneously they're important as an individual. And finding that balance of, okay, groups all getting to work together, but also individuals feeling like they're getting to experience something and do something and contributing to a team is a really hard balance to strike. So over the course of 6 to 9 months, I was brainstorming, okay, what's the best way to do this? And came up with the idea behind Space Defenders to help those large groups have a place where, hey, all of our teams can play all together and feel like we're part of a team while still making it challenging and small enough to accommodate those smaller enthusiast groups of friends and families as well.
Right. Yeah.
That's true, because when we played it with a smaller group, but I think in that case, that is more challenging than when you have like 50 people playing the same game, because then everybody can take a little piece. And I think I'm still a little sour about like not getting that few gems.
I literally felt like we were like
be back to collect all of them. That's usually what the enthusiast things say, right? When you miss one gem, you got to go back and play the whole game. And you're like, no, everybody else got all of them.
It's supposedly, I think we had a game test of 4 hours when just one group do it. So the idea is there's no way one person can do it all. So but you guys got pretty darn close, if I remember.
Yeah, I think we had about 6 people, right? We divided into 3 teams of 2.
Yeah. So it's definitely doable with a smaller group. But it's also, one of those games where because you did that, people are like want to come back to accomplish it again and complete the whole thing.
Right.
It's that like ego. That's definitely bringing the people back. So look, Matt's on.
Hey Matt. So Matt has played 80s workouts, 90s summer camp, and internet experience from virtual escapees and love them all.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Thanks for shout out. So Charlie, I know you had first created these as remote escape room experiences with pre-recorded videos of your physical escape rooms first, and then transitioned into making fully digitized games with like game hosts instead. Do you feel like that was the right like move now that you've done that?
So interesting question. I think they're two. When we first started, we took our real live escape rooms that were completely built out and put them in a virtual environment. And that catered to a lot of enthusiasts and what we could do at the moment. But as business grew and we saw a future with this, we decided to invest and develop a little bit further. The entirely virtually built out room seemed to cater more for enthusiasts, but the corporate clients actually seemed to like the original versions more, simply I think because they're not gamers themselves. They are people who, you know, they're generally, the age range is anywhere between 25 or 30 to 60. And so they're not accustomed to what you would call, you know, I guess the normal gaming process in today. You know, for people that are normal gamers, you know, they might look at, they want something a little bit more updated, I guess you can say, and not as realistic as what our original games were, which is actually putting you in the physical environment. And so what I found was they liked the fact that it was a real room that they can see that they were actually in, and it's a little bit easier for them to navigate when talking about the corporate customers. But the enthusiasts and the hardcore gamers definitely like our newer games like Vampire Hunters, Holiday Land, and Gallery Heist, just because they're original designs that we had planned on building out in a physical format, but we ended up building them out in the virtual format, and it did definitely spike their interest as far as the enthusiasts and hardcore gamers go.
Yeah.
Ooh,
We're gonna get a sneak peek at Vampire Hunters soon.
That was like, I'm just thinking, because he said it previously was going to be built into a physical.
I know. That would have been really.
Yeah, that we designed that room back in 2016. But our budget back then, when we were just first starting, was shoestring, and you know, we were just like most mom and pop escape room owners, like, you know, hey, we wanted to open up and do something that we're passionate about, but we didn't have you know, huge corporate funds, and that room would have required a lot more money. But we were able to now actually make it a reality, and it's been awesome. It's glad to see it come to fruition.
That's a great idea. Yeah, sketches and designs that you had for physical to make it into a virtual.
Yeah, and even when we speak with escape room owners who were trying to like retire their room or something, most of the time, if it does go into like recycle, then we always say like, hey, why don't you make like a game out of it? You know, at least you have memories of what this room looks like. So it's not like you're wasting an entire. You can't really store it into like a physical place, but you can store it like virtually.
Yeah.
I would be sad if Timeline went away. So.
Yeah.
I still remember our first conversation with Charlie, and he was like the first one that mentioned hybrid games, and then we were like, what is this? That's so cool how you can, you know, this is a new direction. So I was like, glad you did it. Now you keep evolving.
The origin of it was so we started off with a literal PowerPoint presentation that was, I remember building this 250-page PowerPoint presentation that we just linked everything together, that we had a game master, you know, being able to, like, they ran the room, and the customers would basically tell them what to do, and even that people were loving. But that, you know, we did that. We just had, you know, that was right at the beginning, and we had to come up with something. And as we saw that this was going to be something that was going to, in my opinion, last for a long time to come, we decided, okay, well, we've got to make something better than this. But it's come a long way, and I'm glad you guys, you guys have seen like every facet so far. So I'm glad you guys were able to experience that.
And you guys are definitely like some of the innovators of the, you know, the start of the virtual gaming. So
yeah.
I'm glad you're all here today. And then this question obviously is for all of you. Pandemic definitely helped with the online business since people couldn't go out. Has your business been slowing down now that the in-person experience have reopened? And what is your new strategy on or take on for the future of corporate gaming online? Does anyone want to go first?
We don't have buzzers, so you guys are gonna have to raise your hand. George, do you want to take this one first, or?
Yeah, sure. So I can't compare it to myself pre-pandemic because I never operated like a physical escape room. So I can't tell like, oh, is business working for me in a physical space, given that I've only operated in a virtual space. But I would say on our end, things are still going pretty strong. We're still doing really great. You know, it's obviously not like the numbers we were making in 2020 or early 2021. But I think we're still growing every day. I'm still hiring people, still kind of expanding. I've seen what a lot has worked for us is migrating more towards working outside of the US. So trying to strengthen our advertising and marketing to countries basically everywhere else in the globe has been helping us, you know, kind of keep those numbers strong. And I ultimately kind of see it, you know, working for, you know, maybe a couple more years. I don't think it's going to die. You know, lots of companies are keeping their people remote, and lots of people just have, you know, their employees everywhere around the globe or around the US. So the need for this so far seems like it's going to stay around. And now that people are more familiar with it, thankfully, you know, they know where to reach out when they want to find something for their people to do remotely.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, the international aspect of it. I didn't think of that. So.
Yeah, there's a whole world out there.
Are they good with the language situation? They're all English speaker, even international
Yeah, a majority of, regardless of where people are coming from, majority of the teams seem to all speak English. That's actually where most of my like business comes from. I only have 3 employees here in the US, and I have 14 outside of the US to kind of accommodate all of the time zones outside of that. And we've never had that issue. We had one instance where they requested one of the games in Spanish the day before the event. Like they were failed to tell us like, oh, by the way, we actually need this in Spanish and we need all Spanish speakers for this event. And I'm like, oh, great. That's like really nice to know that your event is in like 16 hours from now.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you know, I had some people who know Spanish better than I do who are like, all right, we'll just tweak this and tweak that and then take out that's impossible to translate and then we'll go from there. And it works.
Wow.
So it's pretty nice. But we don't advertise that we'll do that for everybody.
I was like, you didn't bring out your high school Spanish and you try to run the game?
No. I was like, I'm going to hire somebody who knows this a lot better.
Uno momento.
Yeah. Google Translate. Nice.
Does anyone else want to weigh in on that question? Jack or Charlie?
Sure, I'll go. So 2021, I don't think we're ever going to see those numbers again. To be honest with you, it was an insane year. So as far as business concerned, our in-store business is definitely flourishing. We're actually exceeding 2021 numbers in store. However, our online business has taken a little bit of a hit. It's not, not like a huge one, but I think people in general just want to get out. A lot of our business does come from the U.S. However, we do internationally. I ran into a very similar situation as George. I had we were a little prepared though that like they wanted to do it, but we needed to run a game and we needed 17 Spanish speaking game masters and we didn't have that. So luckily the company that we partnered up with, we were able to work something out. They were based out of Spain. So that it kind of worked out very well. But yeah, I think for long term, just like you said, I believe that this is something that's going to stick around. I see a lot of large companies that have people located everywhere, and this is a way to connect them. It's also something that, logistically speaking, from the from the event planner side, on the person who's actually putting together an event for a company, this makes their job like exponentially easier. I mean, literally all they have to do is send out a link with an email, at least for my model. They have to send out a link with an email, for a Zoom link or a Teams meet or whatever, a Google Meet link, and then that's it. Not only that, but it's also, generally speaking, like 1/10 of the cost or 1/20th of the cost of a live event for the same number of people. So like, a 100-person event, all of our pricing is probably different, but a 100-person event is going to cost them a lot more than what we can charge them to do it virtually. And the person planning the event, it's just way easier. They send out an email with a link and then we handle the rest. So I believe that from their perspective, it's an attractive thing to offer on a recurring basis. They can do more of them and they can connect a larger group. And but I do think that right now, people are in general, people are tired of Zoom or virtual platforms. So they want to just generally get out. In the US, we're a little bit, it's kind of we're having another resurgence of online games now, because that first, like the US, a lot of places were off lockdown and people were able to get out and do things for quite some time now versus other parts of the world. So, but now that they've gotten out, they've done those things, I think you see them, hey, let's go, instead of, now that we've gotten that out of our system and we were cooped up for a while, let's go back to the virtual. So I do see a long-term future in it.
Good. I mean, but then, who doesn't miss Zoom with the no pants days? Never,
Pajama pants.
Are you guys wearing pants right now? Is that what you're saying? No, I'm just kidding.
Ask me to go grab a water.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Jack, do you have anything to say for that?
Yeah, my experience was a little bit different, and we didn't open Space Defenders until June 2021. And since then, actually since December of last year, kind of moving forward, we've seen our sales really jump, but specifically for corporate. Meanwhile, our groups of friends and families, enthusiasts, definitely same thing like Charlie was mentioning. They want to go outside. They're eager to get back to enjoying the summer weather now. But that we've had a lot of groups who have different headquarters across the U.S. We have had some international groups. It sounds like less than maybe some of the other panelists here have had, but that we have had a strangely enough, a growth or a jump, and especially noticing how a lot of tech companies are planning to stay remote, or I have friends in tech companies who are saying if they try to make us going back, we're starting to rebel. And even if they're in a hybrid system, they have to accommodate people who choose to come into work that day or don't choose to come into work that day. So we've actually gotten more groups where maybe 5 people are in the same location in the same room, and then a couple others are at home or wherever else. So we're seeing kind of more of this hybrid-esque, I don't know, type of players who half of them are all together and half of them are not. And so I'm curious to see how that continues to affect things going forward.
Yeah. I mean, we get this question a lot. Where do you see it going now that, the pandemic is almost over, or, people are going out again? Honestly, I think it's the game that you create that makes it extra special virtual, because you wouldn't be able to do some of the stuff in person as you would do virtually. It's like, take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's going to stick around, and I'm so glad that you keep pushing out really cool, innovative games.
We need new games. That's what it is. We played all of them.
Not all though. We still have some.
Almost all of them, yeah. All right, guys. So for anyone who haven't experienced your games before, we want to see how that works. So let's do a little demo.
Okay. Who's gonna?
All right. So first up, who do we want to?
George, do you want to go first? I have yours ready.
Okay.
I can go first.
All right. So we're gonna
Alright.
bring it up and just tell us a little bit about this game.
Yeah. How does it work?
Yeah, so basically at Virtual Escape Games, we have different games that kind of fit the different genres of time periods. So we kind of have a 70s disco, an 80s workout, 90s slasher. Our most popular one is the one you can kind of see here, which is an 80s workout video themed escape room. So you're kind of put in the world of an 80s aerobics instructor's workout studio, where you're trying to ultimately solve the disappearance of himself. By kind of navigating through a studio, kind of figuring out what exactly happened to him the day he went missing in the 80s. And it's a really fun, more upbeat styled adventure where all of our games are very narrative driven. So there's always a storyline you're progressing through, no matter which one you're going through. This one here is kind of more an example of our 70s disco themed one. So it's got a fun little twist to it. It's 70s disco matched with dinosaurs, which is kind of like a really unique premise to it, but you're kind of navigating through the world of a disco game show to kind of work with your team to, kind of solve a bunch of puzzles, figure out the mystery of like, why exactly are there dinosaurs in the 70s, and kind of work together to, kind of get those things solved within your team. In addition, we also have Operation Ross, which is the one kind of shown here. It's kind of a parody of Night at the Museum, if anybody's a fan of that. It's an early 2010s spy-themed adventure where you're working to kind of navigate through a museum to see if you can uncover these paintings that hold a terrible secret that needs to be kept hidden from the world. So all of the games are pretty interactive for players. They all take place over Telescape. It's a great platform that allows people to interact with items, move around, explore, and this one here being an example of our Camp Nightmare one, which is not meant to be scary. For people who don't like scary stuff as well, we do have some games that are catered more towards younger audiences as well. So, we have some for kids, we have some for adults. Whether you live through the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever it may be, it's totally fine. You'll understand everything regardless of the theme. So super fun adventures overall for people.
Yeah, right.
So basically, people just need to, they could do it as host or not host, right?
Correct. We mostly do them as hosted adventures. So we specialize in team building. We don't do a lot of unhosted, play anytime. We're trying to kind of migrate towards that environment now. But yes, they are hosted adventures for unlimited number of players where, using the Telescape platform provided by Buzzshot, people are able to kind of interact with things together in their teams. And, it's not like you have to direct somebody or point somebody else to do things. Every player gets the ability to kind of manipulate the environments per the games.
Oh, okay. That's great. Yeah, I didn't know that they were doing unlimited now. That's awesome that the platform can hold that many players.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. What is Matt saying? He says
Matt, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
who doesn't?
Me too, because I feel like that guy is so famous now that he's like that a progressive lady.
Yeah, he actually has been pointed out on the streets one day. I thought that was really funny. I was just like, someone
Wow.
actually recognized him while I was with him, and I was like, oh wow. And I was
He's the
like, somebody
mascot.
actually, yeah, someone actually once thought that was me myself too, and I was like, you're actually pretty close. But
Honestly,
no.
yeah, if you did a little bit of like had a wig and a little bit
Initially,
of a haircut, maybe, yeah.
I thought he was, just like from a starting, company per se. You want to save budget, whatever. Some people do actors, their own actors, right? So I thought George was like, filming himself
he went all out
in the workout outfit, but now knowing how big you've grown, probably wasn't a good idea if you presented yourself that way to the public.
And like, yeah, if anybody played, like, when I first started, this game took place on Dropbox, and it was made over Illustrator with like a budget of nothing because I used a free Illustrator trial to make it. So over the years, it's progressed. So like all of our games.
Oh, it's progressed. Yeah, definitely. Some of the stuff I don't even recognize in your demo.
Exactly. So things have been updated, but I've always kept those videos that were made in my garage. They were, we took some construction paper, we put them on the walls. We're like, all right, we're filming these, put these headbands on, let's go. Those videos are always staying, I think.
Such a fun game. Yeah.
That's great. All right, so who's up next?
Jack?
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Let me cue this up for you. Here we go.
So our main game that we run the most of by far and large right now is Space Defenders, which we'll start to see on the screen here. And the goal of Space Defenders is that you are a group of space agents who need to save space from collapsing. There's been an evil criminal alien named Cryota who's taken the power crystals and scattered them throughout the universe since they can't be destroyed, trying to hide them from you and trying to collapse the universe into a black hole of entropy, basically. So the way the game works is that teams are divided up into different groups and almost collaborate and communicate between one another in order to save space. So teams first have to power on their ships all together and then go throughout the universe exploring to different planets at will. They'll also get clues on some planets that they'll then need to share with other teams. So all the teams have a big group chat that they're able to share information and communicate with. So not only are you working together in your small team, but you're trying to strategize with the larger group and share information and go to where maybe other teams are needing clues and pass that to them as well. So the idea is to really force collaboration and teamwork and team strategy thinking, not only in your own small group, but across the entire universe, we say, or your entire large group.
Entire galaxy.
Yes.
How many puzzles do you have? Because I know your game has like the most.
So we have the whole ship section at the beginning where you need to power on your ships. And then we have 13 different planets, including secret planets, each with about an average of 2 to 3 puzzles each. Mm-hmm. So I'm bad at math, but almost I would say closer to 100-ish puzzles, not including just your general strategizing and all of that. We also have different versions of the game now. So in addition to doing it collaboratively, we've had some requests for competitive games. So we've altered the game to be adaptable to do competitive as well. So there's now versions of these puzzles and games where you don't need to collaborate with other teams. You can just silo it and try to get the most crystals. And then different time lengths as well. So sometimes, when we're running a 30-minute game, our puzzles are going to look slightly different from when we're running our 90-minute or 2-hour experience. So
There should be a Space Defenders Olympics.
Yeah.
Have teams all over the countries just go at it and claim a planet or something.
That's true. Yeah.
We do find that corporate teams like to know to compete against other teams. So we had, some property management groups come in who wanted to specifically ask how other companies did, and if we've had them, and try to compete against them. So that's been fun.
I have a question. Are they usually finance companies or pharmaceutical companies? Which one? I'm trying to. Is it the finance guys?
That compete? Actually, it's the medical ones that seem to have the largest sense of competitive edge, which I didn't expect. I think actually the most ruthless competition I've seen was from a psychiatry company, which I was like, well, if you all need to work out some of your competitive anger after this, I know a great psychiatry company, it's y'all.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy in terms of like, you know, just how competitive people get during the games, and then afterwards all back to normal. You're like, wow, I didn't know you were so loud and you're so dominant. But then all of a sudden, like in the game, you're like, no, we got to do this.
Yeah, there's been times where Cece and I, we just like, let's just let them do it.
Real character comes out.
Like, I didn't understand it, but I'll ask you after the game because I don't want to bother you right now. Yeah, that's happened.
So crazy. All right.
All right, Charlie, here we go. Are you ready?
I am ready.
And
all right, guys. So this is our this is actually one of our newer rooms, Vampire Hunters. In this scenario, you guys, vampire's been ravaging your city, and he leaves a trail in blood and bodies in his wake. And you and your team of vampire hunters have managed to track down his lair. And upon entering, you find that the coffin and that he's sleeping in is sealed by a magical spell. So you have to resort to magic yourself. So you resort to the power of earth, air, wind, or earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, and you can rid the world of this cursed being forever. But you have to work fast because he'll wake up in an hour before when sunlight, as sun sets. So this is one of our newer games that we've had that we've completely built out virtually. That's the one I was discussing a little earlier. That we designed and we hadn't built out. But the way that our format is, essentially, every player has complete control and autonomy over their own environment. They can open, utilize the different props, interact themselves while working in a collaborative environment. So we have 8 different types of games with 8 different themes. We also have different time lengths and versions. So we have a 30-minute option or a 60-minute option. So, like we said, that's pretty much there's a vampire. You were able to kill him. Welcome. Good job, guys. Well done. You saved the Earth from this cursed being. So yeah, we have competitive teams, and we also have people that generally, they don't necessarily want to be too competitive. They just want to be able to offer something to their staff. But most of the times when we have larger events, we generally we split up a group of however large it is. It could be a group of 30, 100, or larger, and we'll split them up into smaller teams, and then we'll generally record all their times, and then we do like an end game presentation as far as like who the winners were, because they generally give out like little prizes to their team, to like the top 3 teams is our normal case, but it doesn't have to be that way. So yeah, that's generally our the way that we operate.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it virtually, it was really cool. I mean, seeing it in person, I think would be great as well, but playing it virtually was equally as fun.
Yeah, his graphics are really good in terms of like what it looks like, and also I think the way you have different level of difficulty for each game is good, because then you can have kids or even like younger people who like have games that have less puzzles or less difficulty puzzles to choose from, and then there's ones that are like more challenging,
right,
that you can offer to enthusiasts.
So yeah, we offer. We have one called Principal's Office that's specifically designed for kids 8 to 12. We've utilized that for several school events for like elementary and middle schools, and that one, it's more like crossword puzzles. It's something where the parent can play with the kids and give them hints. It's going to be easy enough for the parents to solve, but still interactive and challenging for the kids. We have a holiday themed game. And then we have just a bunch of different themes that I'm sure you guys can go into. But yeah, they're all interactive, and it's pretty. The way that we design them was so that everybody has. All our games are not linear either. Some of them are non-linear, meaning that multiple people can work on different things at any one time, which I think is really cool in a virtual environment. When we first started designing this, everything was linear, and we couldn't, because everyone had to follow a certain path. Now, with this, because you're controlling your own environment and it's no longer the game masters controlling it, we were able to explore a lot of different avenues of that.
One thing I do really like about your game is the fact that you don't have when someone unlocks something, it doesn't unlock for everyone. So that like if somebody wants to solve the puzzle on their own, they still have a chance to. Because some of the other platforms, like if you're unlocking something, like the whole team locks,
Yeah.
then they didn't really get to see the puzzle, and when they want to, turn back to solve it, they can't anymore because it's already done.
They missed it.
But yours is like, you have that opportunity for each of the players to enter the codes themselves. So that's really
correct. Yeah. So we did explore what you're talking about as a shared environment, and we did explore that option. But in our beta testing, we found exactly that. Is that generally in escape rooms, in any group, there's generally a dominant player or two that tends to solve or do a lot of the work. So what we found happening is those dominant players dominated the game, and the other people, they were moving so fast they didn't actually get a chance to experience everything. And when we couldn't go back in time and say, okay, let's stop and show them what we did, so that we decided to make everyone so that if you solve something, you're able to tell someone how you did it and they can do it themselves. We're built on a gaming platform called Unity. And essentially, we built out all our games with video game developers. So we were able to have that kind of option.
nice.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. That was great, guys. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to give our audience a chance now to come on stage, if you would. If you have any questions, you can share the link in there now for them. If they wanted to come on, then they can come on. But if not, you can easily type into the chat as well if you have any questions. So while we wait to see if there's any interest of anyone coming on or having questions, are we ready to do our raffle? I love this part because that's what people are on the show for. So I do want everyone to know that a week before each of the show, we will be posting some amazing raffle prizes from our featured guests on our Instagram. So if you follow our accounts and check out the rules on how to enter, you'll be able to win some really cool prizes. We have a lot of even Kickstarter projects are coming on that are not even on the market yet. So they will be offering some really amazing games as well. So remain till the end of the show and we will be announcing this episode's winners.
Yeah.
All right. So going on to our question, if other people don't have any questions yet.
We'll wait for them to flood in and see who wants.
So how many games do you currently have for people to choose from? Like what size? We kind of talked about it, but just briefly so people can know about each of the companies. How many games do you have? What size party can you host up to? And I guess just throw in like what is the largest event you've hosted so far?
But it's like, do I go? Who goes?
All right, Jacko.
Jack, we'll start with
All
you.
right. Yeah, so we have 3 games right now. So Space Defenders as our primary game, and like I mentioned, there are a few different versions of that game. And then we have 2 other games out right now that are audio-based. So Ghost of Craven Manor and The Dark Tower, which work a little bit differently, where we incorporate RPG, choose-your-own-adventure elements into those games. And we've had a lot of different fun reactions with normal groups as well as corporate groups actually getting to RP for the first time, role play for the first time as well. So those games, the audio ones, we typically don't do more than 10 in the same group without dividing it up into just a whole other group. And then Space Defenders is anywhere from 4 to infinity and beyond. And with our audio games, I should also mention we have a few different levels. So people can look at a beginner level, an intermediate level, or an expert level. So if they're looking for an extra challenge, they can get something a little bit harder. If they're newer to escape rooms or nervous about trying something online, especially in an RP escape room blend, they can book a beginner level. The game master gives them an easier time and some easier puzzles. And we can also adapt things on the fly if we realize that maybe somebody booked one level but wants to adjust partway through as well. But those are our 3 games right now.
Great.
Yeah, Crane Manor is a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, yeah.
Well, I like the eerie vibe type of games anyways, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, in that case, it brings into the other question that we have from Matthew.
Yeah.
Where do you find your inspiration from? Why you think you choose?
Jack, I guess just you want to take this one, and then you guys can answer following along.
Sure. So for me, I kind of always start with what's fun, or what do I think would be fun for other people or for me to do. And I also am a designer for different companies all over. So something I really push myself and my design company to think about is what's something unique that hasn't been done before. And every game I want to create, I want it to be different in some way, game mechanic wise, narrative wise, that there's something special about it that I can proudly say this is different from something else that's out there. So for Craven Manor, you, instead of expelling ghosts from your house, you actually play as the ghost trying to expel the exorcist. And we mentioned a little bit something about, I think, Brandon, you were saying it's fun to do some things virtually that you can't do in person. And so virtually, you can float through walls, you can possess people.
I can't?
You can't.
Well, maybe you're special, but most mere mortals.
Yeah.
So kind of coming up with, okay, in this format, what can I do that's fun that I can't do in another format?
Right.
Or at least that's how I start to think about things.
Yeah.
Nice.
So George, two-part answer. First one is how many
just a
the
summary
games that you
real
have?
quick.
Yeah, so we divide ours into 3 different categories. So we have team building games, happy hour events, and then our new offerings that we have are in-person. Actually, no, we have 4 categories. In-person, team building games, happy hour, seminar, and in-person mobile events. So for the team building games, they're purely virtual. We have 6. So we have the 70s Disco Dino, 80s Workout Video, the 90s Summer Camp Slasher, early 2000s Internet Culture Cyber Attack, the 2010s Art Heist, and then a modern day horror podcast investigation one. So those are the 6 that we have for team building groups of unlimited size. I think the largest event we did was for the 80s. It was about 3,800 participants spread up over all these different Microsoft Teams meetings over an entire day. So yeah, they're for as many people as you have or as little people that you have. We offer happy hour events. So for the 80s game and the disco game, we have a separate version of them that are drinking games. So it takes place over Zoom as well, but it also has a drinking game element to it. So each time you solve something, you take a drink with your host, you celebrate, you kind of add some of those elements to it.
Yeah.
So it's super fun. That's actually to kind of answer a previous question, that's one of the things we recently introduced to kind of, get people to want to be on Zoom with their, coworkers or things like that and, have some fun. The seminar one is actually a 3-hour session where you start with our Camp Nightmare, which is the 1990s Summer Camp Slasher. You kind of take a little break, reassess with your team, kind of learn what worked for your group, what didn't, and then you continue with its sequel, which is the 2020 Return to Camp Nightmare, which is the horror podcast investigation sequel of that. And then we've just migrated to kind of portable escape rooms that are also provided at conferences. So that is a different version of the 80s workout one that we bring to, anywhere around the world. If you have a conference and you want something fun for us to do, as little as 4 people, as many as however you can fit into a room, whatever you've got, we can make it happen.
Wow. There's something for everyone. That's great.
Yes. Yeah. And by far the 80s one is the most popular. That's why it exists in every realm of whatever.
I see where you're going though with your themes though. You're basically time traveling. Where are you going next? After the future is.
Yeah, so I'm all right, now I need to know what to do next. And it's to kind of answer the question, it's the inspiration, it's a lot of them just come from watching movies, and I'm just I really like that movie. I think it'd be really fun to make that into a thing. So the 80s one just started because I was watching this documentary about what happened to Richard Simmons. He kind of just vanished, very popular 80s aerobics instructor. So I was you know what, let's turn that into a theme. Let's make a fake character named Simon Richards. And the goal of the game is to figure out what exactly happened to him. He's disappeared for a while. Or I was watching another movie called Unfriended, which is a bunch of people dying over a Skype call. And I was that also sounds fun. And yeah, one of them that I'm working on now, my Camp Nightmare series, is both of them are parodies of Friday the 13th, the film series. So it's a parody of the first movie and the second movie. And I'm a huge fan, for anyone watching who has seen Jason X. It's the one that takes place in outer space. I really want that to be the next theme of my game, where it's it's a summer camp, but in outer space with a killer.
Well, that's the next destination.
Yeah. By the way, in this game, people do die, so.
Yeah.
They maybe they die.
But that's how movies should be.
They actually get killed off. So.
All right, Charlie, same 2 questions.
All right. So first of all, I got to say, George, I love where you went from it, both from an enthusiast perspective as well as a business perspective. I think it's a genius idea. You capture every single decade from the 70s on, which caters to literally, an entire every market. So bravo, well done on that. We offer 8 games here at Lockbox, 8 online games. I'll just go through them. CIA Task Force, Timeline is an 80s theme, just like George said. It's pretty much our most popular. We offer Framed, which is you have to try and defuse a bomb and break a friend out of prison. Principal's Office, geared for kids. Gallery Heist, where the painting's been stolen and you have to try and figure out who stole the painting and recover it. We also have Order of Illusionists, which is a magic themed room. Also personal second favorite. Timeline's my favorite. And Vampire Hunters, which we went through a little bit earlier, and then we have Holiday Lane, which is basically we created Holiday Troll has stolen holiday spirit, and you have to go through Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's and try to regain the spirit before midnight. So our largest game that we've run, I wish I could say 3,800, but no, it's about a 550 person event that we ran. And where we get our inspiration from, very similar to George. I love movies. I'm a movie buff. A lot of the times when we're thinking, it's me and my brother that design most of these games. And when we're trying to come up with a theme, we revert back to movies. For instance, Order of Illusionists, we thought of, Now You See Me. Timeline is obviously Back to the Future. CIA Task Force was one of our originals, and I'm a huge fan of the Bourne Identity. So I kind of merged a little bit of Bourne Identity with my own ideas. So movies seem to be an inspiration for me, and yeah, that's pretty much what we offer. We have 5 in-person games too. If you guys are ever in the South Florida area, come check us out. And yeah.
Yeah, we actually met Charlie in person, played his game, The Collector, and that was filled with it was
The Galore.
And
No,
I don't think.
Not The Collector.
Yeah, no, not The Collector.
There.
Puzzler's Lair.
Puzzler's Lair.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I was like, that's another one, guys. I know you've played a couple of escape rooms, but
But there was a lot to do in there. And I remember when I was speaking with Charlie and interviewing him, I believe you and your brother play this game where you say a line and then you could try to get the other one to guess what movie it's from. So he's definitely a movie buff. So.
Correct. I remember you sent me one, and I didn't quite place it, and then I
stumped you a little bit.
You did. You stumped me a little bit. I gave the first guess was wrong, and then I got it on the second guess. But
That's how we play movie trivia.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the future we might borrow that from you, Charlie.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
We have another question from Mark from over in the UK. What do you do in your leisure time outside of escape and online games?
Nothing.
Nothing. There is no leisure time.
That's all they do.
So I guess I'll say leisure activity that I enjoy is poker. I play a lot of poker. In fact, right now I'm literally in Las Vegas, going to be playing at the World Series of Poker. So I'll probably lose a bunch of money, but nonetheless, it's a hobby that I really enjoy. Movies. I love to do movies and shoot pool. I used to shoot a lot of pool, and so those are my main hobbies outside of doing escape rooms or thinking about escape rooms or running an escape room business.
Yeah, George, let's work backwards.
Yeah, so I have a lot of free time, which is really great. Basically, my company now kind of runs itself, and I've hired a manager, so I'm only here to create rooms now, and it'll be a while till I do that. So yeah, that's actually been something I've been trying to fill my time up with, is doing a lot of hobbies. Kind of I bought a piano, and I'm trying to learn how to play the piano very, very slowly. I'm trying to study some languages to kind of keep those built up. I'm a huge fan of Survivor. Yeah.
Yes, you get a all Russian game, all Polish game.
I'll get those 4 language games going anytime now. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Survivor, so I've been doing a lot of one of the fun things that came out of building this company is when I first started and everybody was in the pandemic, I've always loved Survivor. It's my favorite TV show. And I basically reached out to every of my favorite contestants over Twitter and asked them if they wanted to play. And almost everyone said yes. So I got to like meet people that I watched on TV growing up, and I'm like, these are so fun. And so I do a lot of like online gaming with them now too. So I'm like, wow, like all these people that like I used to love growing up and like still watch on TV. We just play puzzle games for fun in our spare time now. So that's a lot of what I do, is just, you know, when I'm not working on puzzles, I'm playing puzzles. So super fun.
That's great. And Jack?
Yeah, I'm going to be real and say that I, as an entrepreneur in the pandemic, have struggled with work-life balance. That I think it's a reality everybody goes through, especially when they're starting up, and I feel like I'm still in that phase. But much like the other people here, we're here because we love it, right? So definitely do my fair share of escape games and puzzle games. I also do. I'm very grateful for my D&D group. I've been DMing a campaign for 4.5 years now, seeing characters. So I have a group of a bunch of nerds who do that, and we also have board game nights. Nice. And so still within the game world, but fun. I've been trying to, now that pandemic's lifted and summer's here, go outside and go hiking. There's not, I'm based in LA, so usually that means going off for an hour somewhere to find a good spot. But that's been a nice reprieve from when I'm not doing something puzzle or game related.
Yeah. You gotta at least also, you know, remember health is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm literally thinking about potentially moving to Colorado for that exact reason. I love to hike, and me and my wife want our son to potentially grow up in a more outdoor area. So we've actually thought about potentially, you know, visiting over there and thinking about it. But it's definitely a cool. I love to hike as well.
Oh, okay.
That's great. Love that. How you can't always sit on the table and play games. No. You gotta be out a little bit. You know, we are trying to connect with the world here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna have like a real other like quick question, and then we're gonna wrap up. So, if someone wants to start a corporate gaming business online, how much do you think their initial budget should be? Like, how much did it cost for you guys to create these games? Like, in case someone's like really, you know, eager to do something like this.
We'll start with George.
I mean, I'm going to also start off with, again, going back to my thing. My entire business started off of free trials of Adobe products. So like I had an almost no investment whatsoever on my hand. I did use a little bit of money to initially kind of get some Facebook ads running to kind of get people familiar with the idea. And, you know, at that time period, I think, you know, when everybody was looking for something virtual to do, and, you know, going back to when I first started, it was just a donation-based experience. People were, you know, very willing to kind of partake in it. Nowadays, I think you can definitely still kind of create some sort of empire like this in a virtual or physical environment with, you know, kind of a couple of low grand. I think if you have enough money to really market your product, and you've got people who know how to market your product, then I think you can easily do it with just a couple, maybe like, you know, $1,000, $2,000 or so. If you really, you know, kind of going, I think Jack mentioned this, you know, if you're really passionate about the thing you do, and, you know, being like us, where we're passionate about the kind of work we do, I think, you know, you create a great product, you get some money, you market it to people, and I think you'll be able to be successful with that.
Yeah. Charlie?
So I'm in agreement. I definitely think if you have the passion and the drive, it's my belief that anybody can do anything if they put their minds to it and they're actually devoted to it. Like George, I started the virtual portion, you know, with PowerPoint, with Google, you know, Google Slides and PowerPoint. So I do think, though, in today's market, if I'm going to be completely honest, I do think you might need to come to market with something, you know, a little bit more presentable, given the fact that I think that over time, you know, we've all grown, and we started off, you know, with a shoestring budget or next to no budget, and then we made some money, and then we reinvested it, and we've grown our products into what I think is, you know, from what I've seen, you know, very, very professional products. So I do think that if you're going to enter the marketplace today, you probably want to be on par with, or, you know, either just below on par or above, you know, your competitors to be able to stay on point. So I do think marketing is a huge end of it. And if you don't have that presence already, breaking into this market, I think is going to require a larger marketing budget than you would, even if than your actual game would be to build. And then as far as game development goes, that really depends upon the platform in which you're building it on. You know, I'm not a game developer. I had to learn that worlds, and I had to hire people to do that. So for me, it may have cost more than if if you guys were using Telescape and you're a little bit more intuitive to be able to do it on your own. Or I know that there's some Telescape developers that were charging as well. So I think the gamut runs from a couple of thousand to a lot more. It really just depends upon what kind of market you're going to break into and what kind of budget you have. I'll do a shameless plug here. We do offer, we license our games out to other escape room owners as well. So that's something, if you wanted to get into this with no cost or very, very little cost, you can start as little as $300. You can license all our games. So that's my shameless plug. But we had a lot of owners contacting us at the beginning saying, yeah, how did you guys do this? Well, what can we do? And then as a result of them, they were giving me referrals, and I thought to myself, well, what if I could relicense it out, and they can literally, basically kind of like an Amazon reseller, they'll be able to white label the product as their own. So we do have several escape room owners that are able to actually utilize our games in different markets as well. So, and that's been going pretty well for them.
Yeah, we see your games everywhere. We visit another website, it's like, there it is.
Yeah. Great.
But you've helped a lot of companies as well too. So
I did, yes. During the pandemic, I gave some free subscriptions out, if people were struggling. So I wanted everybody. I love the escape room industry. I started it both as I come from a corporate background, a real estate background, and a gaming background in the casino management industry. And I wanted to do something that was more passionate, something that I really had heart for. And so when I went into this industry, just like the rest of us, I think that are in it, at least mom and pops, we started it because it's something that we really want to do, not something that we thought was going to make us a ton of money. I did think it was going to make some money, but I didn't think it was going to make millions of dollars. And so I want to see other people that I think are just, that are like me, that got into this with, could be their whole budget, and they went all in with it. I want to see them succeed as well. So anything that we can do to help that, I'm all for it.
yeah, absolutely.
And Jack?
That's awesome. Well, I'll definitely say licensing sounds like a great idea. I would highly recommend getting in contact with Charlie if that's something you're thinking about. I think the best piece of advice I got I stole from Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx, and she says, "Don't be afraid to start small." And I think that's so true. And I think you'll hear all our stories. We started pretty small and grew big, and I think there's a temptation to, oh no, I got to have 10 different games and market to an international audience all at once, and really start with what you know and grow from there. I think marketing, like everybody's been saying, is a huge part of it. And I think you'll also notice, kind of hearing everybody's stories, is that everybody had different strengths that they pulled from and then hired for maybe what they didn't have. But that the cool, amazing thing about this industry, I think there are two things. One is that competition helps. So the fact that other people are playing games and knowing that they're out there is helping you. So people are very eager to help one another in this industry. And then two, all the games are so unique and there's so many things you can do. So whatever it is that is inspiring you, or that whatever background you come from, there's something valuable there that you can make a game out of that nobody else can make a game out of or think of a game out of, because you just have the unique background you do. So my advice would be, differentiate yourself with whatever your unique background is, and don't be afraid to start small, and reach out to Charlie if you need a licensed game to get some revenue coming.
I do want to just jump in and say one thing about what you had just said about starting small. I think there's a common trend. I know I'm part of some forums with escape room owners, and there seems to be a common trend. And I'm going to shift a little bit to live games now, because it really more pertains to live games. And that is, you need to spend a ton of money to have a really good room with a lot of tech. And I think that seems to be a trend that is I guess permeating itself through owners' perceptions. And in my opinion, and it's a personal opinion, is that I don't think that that's entirely necessary. I do think that if you do have passion for this industry, and it's something that, hey, I want to open up my own escape room, but I don't have, $500,000 to do it and spend $50,000 a room. You can do it on on not a huge budget for rooms. You can create rooms that people will enjoy, that do not cost, a ton of money. and don't give up just because you don't have those funds. I'm living proof that that's possible. When I first started this, my rooms were not $25,000, $30,000 rooms, and my 2 rooms that I started with, CIA and Timeline, are my biggest earners today. And I have rooms that cost I built rooms that cost 10 or more, 10 times more or more than that, that didn't earn as much as those 2 rooms still do today. And although there's some tech in them, people love, like, the puzzles are unique and people have fun in them. And that's generally why I think that that's the case. So starting small is a huge point. And I, appreciate you saying that. And I think hopefully if you're interested in starting your own room, don't be discouraged.
Yeah, I think the memorable experience is the most important thing, and that can be defined in a lot of different ways, because it could be something that's what you are saying, where it is a lot of money, all this tech and everything, but it also could be the simplest thing that was the most creative thing that costs little to nothing.
Yeah.
But it's the experience that was memorable that you did in that 1 hour.
Which is also incorporating the fact that, you had fun, and you had fun because of customer service.
Customer
That's a big
service,
one.
yep. Upkeep, definitely.
Right,
Upkeep.
that is also another one. And also, I guess.
Game masters also very important.
Customer service, yeah.
Shout out to my game masters. I couldn't do it without you guys. I'll just say that. All right.
Yeah.
Literally, my business depends upon you guys. So thank you very much if you're watching.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. So just one last question to conclude this. But if you guys could go back, and this might be, just for people who want to start this business and then to save them some time of mistakes, what would you do differently?
This is all about time travel, this episode. Yeah, what would you do differently if you can go back in time?
That's a little tough.
Jack, we'll start with
whoever's
you.
ready, I guess.
Or whoever's ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind was tell myself you could do it. I think, I don't know, a big part of starting a game is knowing, hey, just go for it. And I think you can adjust along the way and game test sooner and game test often. A big thing for me also once I had the games was, and as far as marketing sooner, marketing with videos, I think was really, really great. And people seem to be attracted to seeing a small demo or inside scoop, especially corporate groups. Once they can get a video, it really helps them see what's going on. And also defining my market earlier. So, I defined it as friends and family groups, but maybe I also want a corporate, I think I was defined, but not as specific as I could have been, especially with Space Defenders, and kind of ideating, okay, who's my ideal customer, and creating the game for them, knowing that there is not going to be one game that makes it's not going to be everybody's favorite thing, but pick, okay, it's going to be these people's favorite thing, and then I'll make a different one that's these people's favorite thing. I think that would have helped me kick off and get going.
So knowing your audience and designing based off of.
Yeah, and if you're interested in corporate specifically, knowing that corporate is a whole different beast from an enthusiast, where an enthusiast really wants things to be challenging and tough and innovative in a way that's different from innovative corporate, where they want to really feel like they're being successful every moment, and they want to feel like they're collaborating with their team. And they also most corporate groups have never done an escape game before. So making sure that your introduction, I think my original Space Defenders introduction was over 10 minutes long. And we've definitely scaled back on that and had to simplify the game. But again, knowing who your audience is, I think is going to help.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Anyone else wants to add on to that?
I'll jump in. So from my physical live game perspective, I would say that if I go back in time, I would focus on the logistics of your physical location. So I think that matters so much, both for your customers and your staff work environment. Our location right now in Davie is it's a great location geographically, but the actual physical space, I mean, we've squeezed every square inch that we could to provide as best experience as possible while leaving space for our staff to work and customers to lounge in. So if I go back in time, I would make sure the logistics of it, where the bathroom's located, the workspace for your staff, storage space, things like that. Plan for expansion. It all depends on your budget, but definitely if I go back in time, that's the biggest thing I would change is making sure that when I first got into this, I had no idea about construction, or I was a business guy. I was a corporate guy, like picking up a drill was foreign to me, so doing the build out was, the logistics didn't really click with me. And now 6 years later, not that I'm a construction guy, but I have a lot more experience than I did. And that's what I would change. As the online stuff, if I go back in time, I'd learn about game development before the pandemic, but that's not realistic. So, so yeah, I mean,
The pandemic
what?
was coming. I said,
Yeah,
to be
we
honest,
did.
the pandemic was coming.
yeah. So yeah, I would have invested in real estate. I would have invested in real estate 3 years ago if I knew the pandemic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, it's for online games. I think we've done. Given if I things that I actually could possibly have changed without being clairvoyant, I don't think I would have changed too much. I mean, we started exactly how we should have, and we advanced when we should have. And then we moved into different platforms. I really don't think we would have, changed too much. Perhaps maybe on the marketing end, done a couple different things, but I think for the most part, we're pretty satisfied with the way the virtual went.
Good.
Okay.
And George?
Yeah, I have two things. So I'd say the first one, if I could go back and do things differently, I think at an earlier stage in like the development of my business, I wish I would have learned that like me as one person, I can't do everything, and there's no need to try to make myself believe that I can take every position within my business. So when I first started, I refused to get employees. I was like, you know what? Like, it's just gonna be me. That way I know everything that's happening. And then, I will create the games, I'll do the videos, I'll do this, I'll host the games, I'll do basically everything so that, I'm overseeing everything. And I was running games from like 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single day, 7 days a week for people all over the world. And I was dying. And, it took me, maybe like 6 months to get my first employee. And after I got one employee, I couldn't stop. I was like, you know what? Like, we're going to keep getting more and more. And it's like, by the time like the winter season comes, I'm like, all right, I have 20. Like, what do I, And I was like, at first I was like, this is kind of overwhelming. But then you start to realize, like you hire these people for a reason, in order to be successful, you want to hire the best people who specialize in things that you might not specialize in yourself. So I got people who know how to do things in Blender. I got people who know how to do Photoshop. I got some really great game masters that love what they do. I have a great finance person. Basically, these people have these backgrounds that I don't have. And I think it was foolish to try to do everything on my own. So, the biggest thing I learned was just get a good team of people, build an environment in which they love to work and that they enjoy what they do, and your business is going to prosper from that. The second thing I wish I really learned early is, as someone who had never owned a business whatsoever, is sticking to my grounds on things. I felt like as a business owner, I would always be kind of hesitant when like somebody'd be like, we have a game of 100 people, what's the quote for this? And I'd be like, yeah, it's 25 per people. That's $2,500 for this one event. But I would read back that number and be like, but let me know if that doesn't work. And, and we can figure something out. And I kind of wish, most of the time they'd be like, oh, we can do that, but what can you do for us? I'm like, dang it. I was like, why did I second guess myself? So it was a lot of always just being like, let me know, if it's too much.
Yes.
Right, exactly. Know your value, know your worth, and you
Yeah.
have a quality product. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I just don't do that. I'm like, no, just trust it. They're fine. Companies have the money. Like, don't second guess yourself.
Yeah.
That's great. That's all great advice, guys. Thank you so much. And I'm pretty sure our audience also learned a lot. And if you have competitors coming out soon after this episode, thank you to us. And thank you to you, because competitors are great, right? They're going to have more games for people to play. And, we hope this industry prospers from this day on.
Yeah.
Or they could just license our products. I'm just going to throw that out there. Shameless plug.
All right. Okay, guys. So
Is it time?
Yeah, it's time for our finally. It's our time to pick
So
her up.
for us people to be able to play these awesome games, we had to
On
do
your
a
own.
raffle.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain the raffle?
Yeah, so I mean, like, basically, if you go on our Instagram and you enter and follow, the person's company and us on Instagram, then you tag a friend. That counts as one entry. And then if you do more of the sharing, then you also get extra entries. But all the rules are on our Instagram. So after that, yesterday midnight was the deadline. Then I take all the people who entered and put in a random wheel thingy, which I didn't do here because I know it's gonna like stop our
Yeah, we
live.
tried doing live spin
Yeah.
on the StreamYard, and it does
picked
not.
all the winners in a very fair way, and here we go. Our first winner for the choice of your own game up to 10 people, valued at $150 from Lockbox Escape Room.
Yes.
Wait,
Oh,
hold
do
on,
we have a
let me
drum
get
roll?
my
Do we have a
drum.
drum?
Here we go. IG handle Alfonso Wurizelius.
It's on the screen. So Alfonso was
Congratulations. We look forward to hosting your game.
Yes.
Woo! Okay, and then coming up, our next one, our free online game for Space Defenders for up to 8 people, valued at $420 from Fantasy Escape Games. Our IG handle is Skeleton Castle.
Congratulations.
Congrats!
We're looking forward to seeing you in space.
Yeah.
Woo! All right, and the last one of these, free online hosted game, team building of your choice for up to 40 people, valued at $1,000.
Who knows
from
40
Virtual-
people? Tell your whole company. You'll be the favorite employee.
Right? Bring your entire company over. All right.
Here we go. And
Winner is Cheryl MCP. I'm pretty sure that is.
I think that's Cheryl McPhillamy. Yeah. I'm sorry. I think there's a Y missing in there, but yeah. Cheryl.
No, that's her handle. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys. This is so much fun. And also a special thanks to our episode sponsor, Wacky Wheels Mystery Games. And they're best known for their escape road trips. They're actually on their road trip right now.
Yeah.
And Digital Escape Games in August 2022, they launched their quarterly subscription for just 12 euros, which is only around $13 US. And escape game in high quality magazine formats will be delivered to your doorsteps every 3 months.
Yeah.
I love subscription games because, you always want more. You're like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, what's in
And
my
it's
mailbox?"
brought to you. You don't have to go get it. They're giving it to you.
Yeah, for sure. And guys, if you're interested in being a Behind the Masterminds episode sponsor, please email us at, hey, we have a new email, info@escapetheroomers.com. I love this because you know why? Gmail sucks. You can never get email into people's inboxes. All right, so thank you everyone who's able to tune in for our season 4 premiere, and thank you to all our wonderful guests for taking time to share industry knowledge, which you're not going to be able to hear from anywhere else. That's for free, right? So remember to set your calendar reminder for our next show, which is going to be on June 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, where we'll be sharing some inside scoops on some of the new tabletop games that are going to be coming out on the market soon, which means they're not even on the market
not
yet.
even available yet.
And you're gonna know them before that happens. So of course that means a lot of raffle prizes, right?
Yeah.
And so make sure you check our IG for updates. And also, guys, it's super nice. It's actually super nice outside this weekend. So please
get
enjoy.
outside. Yeah.
And go hike. Thank you, guys. Thanks so
And
much.
thank you, Brayden, and thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. Click that like button below and subscribe to our channel for the rest of season 4 Behind the Masterminds so you can meet all of our guests.
Yes. Yeah, our schedule is on our Facebook.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.